take into account that if he was injected, as they are saying, the day before, and then died on the 25th, then he was technically killed or manslaughtered on Freemason Day,
The
St. John's Day,
St. John's
which
Day.
is
That's right.
June 24th in America is now Freemason Day. So,
How about that?
Now, the curious thing there is I was sitting back and, I did the whole Anna Nicole Brittany story. And if you start looking into who was the pathologist in all of this story, you find that Cyril White was the pathologist for Billy Smith, her son. You find that Cyril White was the pathologist for JonBenet Ramsey. You find that Cyril White was the pathologist involved in Elvis and also in John F. Kennedy. And so I said, okay, if Cyril White gets involved in this autopsy with Michael Jackson, I'm just going to flip my lid. He was also called in for the John Travolta death in the Bahamas. So, here's this one pathologist connected to all of these seeming mind control slaves that is in the same storyline with all of these. Then I said, okay, if he comes into Michael Jackson's story, I'm just going to flip my lid. And sure enough, he was the one who was pushing to have Dr. Murray arrested for manslaughter. He was the one that's been charging and most likely the cause of the manslaughter charges that Dr. Murray, Michael Jackson's doctor, is now facing.
There we go.
But I could not find out if he was the secret pathologist. They had a second pathologist, secret.
Might have been him then.
Yes, it very well could have been.
Hey, tell us a little bit briefly about this thing you discovered about the, what was it, the mind-preserving robot or whatever, and Michael Jackson?
Absolutely. Now, I've been getting into mind-preserving technology, the ability to transfer your soul or your essence into a computer to save it, to either transfer it into another body, like what they hope to do is to be able to transfer your essence. Now, this was on the front page of Pravda, which is a Russian newspaper, and you can also look up mind-preserving technology from MIT, and you'll find that they are working on this technology to transmit your soul, your essence, into a computer and then transfer this into what they call an e-body or a robot. And they said they can transfer your soul via radio frequency waves, so this will come into importance when we're talking about HARP, into an electronic body that could be on the bottom of the ocean or another planet, and you could then walk on the bottom of the ocean or the other planet. Your soul would be in this robot. And then they hope to upgrade the system to where they can transmit you into a clone. So this is the idea of immortality, something the Brotherhood has always been after, right?
Yes.
When we look into these brothers that are coming over, they're looking for the fountain of youth. I mean, look into Cortez, Pizarro, all of them. They're Fountain of Youth is on their list.
Yeah.
This is something that has always had me intrigued because this, to me, I don't think the queens are just going with flights of fancy and saying, here's all my money, go find me the Fountain of Youth. This isn't some flight of fancy. They have some information to make them believe this.
Yes.
And when you start looking into immortality and you come across people like Saint Germain, who's worshipped by the Theosophists. Now, he was the man who was known to have lived forever. And you look into Saint Germain a little deeper and you find that his father is Prince Dragosky of Transylvania. And you start to wonder about this aristocracy vampires,
Yeah, of course. Well, I was always wondered and intrigued by that idea of people living for longer periods of time, because that seems to be one of the ways that the overarching conspiracy, the agenda of where the world is moving, seems to be led by people who actually are living through multiple lifetimes, so to speak, or hundreds and hundreds of years. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's definitely one thing that I've been considering. What do you think about that? Do you think that they have some kind of either ancient technology or some kind of, at least in recent times, modern technology, which allows them to actually sustain their lives like that?
Yes. And at this point, I've been using the concept of genetic memory. So therefore, that's why they keep their DNA so pure, because the genetic memory is retained. And that's another scientifically proven fact. And I think I am an example of what genetic memory can do, and a number of other people's, because all of my thoughts and theories end up being tied into my entire family line. And I think that this is the way that they have been keeping that story going on. But now we're starting to get ideas. I saw Dr. Stephen Greer talking about electromagnetic technologies that would be able to send you into what he called the lower fourth density, or a realm of demonic energy
Ooh.
that they can now use these technologies to send you into. And I'm like, this is Dr. Greer saying this, this is not, I don't know. I never expected to hear him say that. So there are
Yeah.
these technologies, according to people, like Dr. Stephen Greer of the Disclosure Project, that can send you into these altered dimensions or other densities of reality.
Yeah. Well,
Now, what had happened,
oh, go ahead.
just to conclude the Michael Jackson thing,
Yes.
what had happened is I decided to go rent this movie called Home Movie because I have a friend in Kansas who lives in a $2 million home in a missile silo, and I'm about to go visit him. And so I was showing my friend the videos so that we could get an idea. I could show it off a little bit first, but it was a video on many homes that were special homes, and one was even created by Monsanto for Disney World, and it was the home of the future, made out of all plastic. And they had this roboticist that was working with them to create this robot house, that the Jetson kitchen that they never have given us, right?
Right. The smart, intelligent house, what have you.
Exactly. And this guy had created the most anatomically correct robot of the time. Now, of course, this was back in the day. Well, he starts talking about how he had this soul transferring technology installed in this robot of his, and that when he died, he wanted to be transmitted into his robot. And then he goes on to say that, actually, I've been working this deal with Michael Jackson. And all of a sudden, his wife cuts him off, like, Jack, what are you saying? And he's like, oh, sorry, never mind. He let the cat out of the bag.
Oopsie daisy. And this is, what is a video available on
Yeah.
YouTube or what?
It's actually called Home Movie.
Home Movie.
I don't know where you can get it. I did air the audio on Radio Freeman, so you can go to the archives or the Freeman Zone, the Free Zone. You can check out the archives it's titled "The King of Pop is Dead," and I aired the audio of this roboticist saying this. But the movie is called Home Movie, and it's just basically a film about a documentary about strange homes.
Right, that's really interesting. I just wanted to stick in there as well in regards to different ways they're trying to kind of preserve consciousness, I guess, or memory, or even if you want to term it that soul. I know that they're working right now on. I have an article up on this on Red Eyes about what they call the Blue Brain Project, and this is actually they're trying to create kind of basically an artificial human brain that replicates the neural pathways or neural network of the brain. And what they anticipate is that if they'll be able to replicate a living human being's neural network, they suspect that they can put this in as a simulation into a machine that is being run by what they call the Blue Gene computers. I think it's IBM or someone who owns that. And with this idea is that you actually get a kind of a perfect replication, as they see it, to the human being, but it's actually an artificial simulation that is being run. And that's another way they're trying to kind of preserve this as well. So the technology is out there, and these boys suspect this to be become mainstream pretty much in about 10 years or something like that. So it's really creepy,
Well, let's keep in mind that Michael Jackson is not being buried with his brain.
What happened there?
His brain has been removed from his body.
Same as Kennedy then, huh?
Right, and we have the same connection, same Cyril White, same, this guy.
Yeah.
There's more going on planet Earth than most people realize. Life is not as boring as the media makes it out to be. I'll tell you that.
No, that's true, and in some way they release it out in the media as well for us to kind of pick up on and be aware of. Because again, one of those slips, for instance, that you mentioned about in this movie, the Home Movie, they can easily edit that stuff out, right? But they don't. They keep it in there as a kind of a hint or something. I don't know what.
Yes, exactly. And this bust. Certainly somebody had to have noticed the bust looked like Michael Jackson long ago. Why is it only now coming to the forefront?
Yeah. Well, that is definitely one story to follow up on, and the overarching idea of some kind of transhuman, robotic AI type system that is going on. That is a very interesting idea as well. We'll see how and what the heck happens on that front. But Freeman, let's move in and talk a little bit about some of the Obama material here and your DVD, the Obama cloning and the coming space war.